Hey everybody, welcome back to Sergeant's Talk TV. I'm Big Mike.
Normal size Jason.
Hey, I'm going to tell you something right off the get go. Your boys, the Marines, they brought 500 up to LA. And I'm sorry, but they're going to turn that place into a third world country because we are not good at peacekeeping. Military,
No, not at all.
we,
Like, actually,
we played
it's
hell
funny.
in Bosnia.
My
You know?
brother had called me um, this morning, and he's like, "Dude, did you see the news?" And I'm like, "I don't, watch the news specific. I mean, if something pops up as I'm scrolling through, killing brain cells on Facebook,
Yeah.
I might go research or something big. All right, fine, I'll go and look." But I did see a thing saying, "Hey, Trump was sending some Marines in." And he's like, "Can you even? What was the word he wanted me to spell? Like de-escalation or something like that, right?"
Right.
And he's like, "Do Marines even understand what that word is? Can they spell it?" So he calls me because he's like, "If you guys can't spell it, you can't do it." And I'm like, "Yeah, hey, the riots are gonna stop, but it's not gonna be pretty, especially out there where you have a whole lot of those people we don't care much for." Um,
Yeah, I see a lot of people on Facebook, um, Mexican people that are pissed off. And I say pissed off because they're pissed off at the fact that you did all that work, crossed all those miles to get into the United States for, a better life, if you will, or whatever the case is. But yet you're in the streets, you're waving the Mexican national flag, you're burning the American flag or running around with the American flag upside down on a stick, and now you're looting, and it's probably. I mean, if I was illegal, I wouldn't even be downtown. You know what I
no,
mean? Why would you risk that? So that tells me that a lot of this in all these cities is a planned operation and it's funded by somebody. Just like when they burned down Minneapolis and they burned down Seattle and Portland and all that garbage. Um, 9 times out of 10, if I'm illegal or undocumented person, there is no way that I would show up downtown and do the things that they're doing to take the risk of getting my head bashed in by a
right.
riot cop. You know what I mean? And get
Well,
cuffed
I mean
up.
that would be the thing, and I guess that's the aggravating part. Is there one? There's enough evidence out there, right? They were brought in here on purpose.
Yeah,
They were here to serve a purpose, and yes, I'll give it to them. They go through a lot of shit to be
yeah.
able to get here, and that's the big thing that nobody, right? Nobody, all these people that are anti-ICE and they're sitting there like, it's not that we're saying, hey, we don't want more people in the country. Like, absolutely, you want to come to America, but come and do it the right way.
Yeah.
And just because you put a ton of, I mean, it's like these telemarketing warehouses that they're finding, these scam centers, you know, that they go in and they bust them because these people are going on and they're taking everybody's money. The amount of effort they put into doing things illegally, if they used half that effort and did it legal, nobody would have any problem with it whatsoever. But they want to
Well,
work harder to do it the illegal route,
and I get
and
it.
then get
It's
mad because, well, we're going to send you back home. Well, I
yeah,
did all this work to get here. Okay, it was still illegal.
and it's not cheap to go through the correct process. I get that. It's not cheap, and there's a lot of people that couldn't afford it. Period. Um, are we? are we doing this correctly? Because we're bringing in Marines now, and we're not good at peacekeeping. We're not. I mean, if you're in the military, you're trained for one thing: to kill and win. That's what you're trained on doing. Okay. Now the MPs might take some kind of because I went through MP school, and you get civil unrest training and stuff like that. But when you send in a bunch of combat Marines into a place like that and they're throwing bricks at you, sooner or later, someone's going to get badly hurt.
Right.
Okay, if they haven't been hurt already. But I think this is an orchestrated event. And then you see all the Democratic lawmakers in California. Oh, they don't want you to believe your lying eyes. And they're saying, oh, it's just a few incidences. I'm going, okay. What I'm seeing that they're just putting, because you can watch cameras that are set up on YouTube, and they're just filming all this stuff and breaking into stores and destroying everything and stuff like that. And then somebody on the left says, oh, it's not really what it seems like it is. Like, what? They're still playing that we're dumber than rocks game. And I'm going to tell you something. Something's going to happen. And, until people stop voting these radicals back into office, it's crazy. There's no common sense, And then Hakeem,
I think that's the big thing right there.
Hakeem Jeffries is threatening people, saying, "Oh yeah, step over that line and see what happens to you." Like that's a lawmaker, Normally, you want the very best for your people that you represent, and they're falling on their sword on this. Okay, they're just protecting their voter base or their future voter base. You know what I mean? Right. Because I'm going to tell you something. If the next president is Democrat, you watch every single person line up. We're going to give you automatic citizenship and then see what happens. So, hey, world's going to hell in a handbasket. But tonight we're talking about 5 common mistakes that people make over and over and over again when they're filing a disability claim. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I'm glad you guys are here. We got 19 people in the chat. Let's see who we got here real quick. Let me scroll back up. There's Ricky Smith. There's Anna Bohr.
Let's see, Rebecca Touched by Yarn. And, well, of course, your Sergeant Major's in here making sure we're staying in line.
Yeah, she is. Judy Herman, hello to you.
Got McAllister Homestead showing up.
All right. Man, McAllister, Oklahoma got hit by a tornado. It's 18 miles to drive there. It's about maybe 10 miles as a crow flies. And it went down there and it hit Old Town McAllister and did a bunch of damage down there. Did some damage over by the hospital. And yeah, then that's the first tornado that's hit McAllister since we moved here 5 years ago. But lately we've had them south of us, north of us, and then really close to us when this one came through. So yeah, it's getting crazy around here with the weather. I did a video with our tree getting hit by lightning. There is Susanna. Hello. Proud single mother. Welcome in. There's Oak.
There's Oak.
There's Carrie. I love reading her books that she writes on Facebook. She's a very good writer. and her punctuation is impeccable. So she must be in the medical field.
Got all them smart words going on.
Yeah.
Neil
Yep.
S. making it in. Hello, brother.
Debbie Drox here.
There's the Williamsons.
Yeah, the Williamsons are here.
Good to see y'all in here. All right, got that gnat out of the way. There's Devil Dog, Hoorah, Eddie.
There he is.
No, I'd seen.
Hey, there's Sheila Tubbs. How you doing, Sheila? Welcome in. Jason, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, Sheila. If you throw it in there, I'll scroll through and find it.
Exactly. Rioters take away from peaceful protest. Immigration is broken, needs to be fixed. All voices need to be talking now from a place of love, listening from a place of empathy. No, I agree. I absolutely agree. And that's what makes me believe, just like the riots we had after George Floyd, and our government did nothing about it. People were killed. Businesses lost everything, burning down apartment buildings and businesses and all that stuff. I agree. But that's why I believe that this is orchestrated by somebody. Because today they showed on video somebody pulled up in a truck and stuff and started throwing out boxes, and people were taking them out, and they were gas masks. Gas masks, I don't care where you get it, they're not cheap.
Right.
And somebody was delivering gas masks to the rioters, and I'm just like going, something's going on.
Yeah. And they're going to be the first ones, when they get this stuff all settled down, then they're going to be the first ones sitting there with their hand out because they're like, well, all of our stuff's destroyed. Somebody has to come help us. No,
Yeah.
we don't. You destroyed it, idiot. Like, well, I'll tame it down. But
yep, there is Denise McDonald.
That's our
friend.
Good to see you, sister. See our brother Scott Spencer making it in.
Marines and police is vastly different. Cover me means two different things. Yep. Blood makes the grass grow. Scott Spencer.
Always good to see Scott in here.
All right, there's the question right there at the bottom.
Tara want a used harvest rate. Sheila, I will ask her. I think you have our contact info. So shoot us an email, a message. I don't.
That's
Sheila might even have Tara's number. Message her about it.
Yep.
Let's see.
That's pretty cheap.
Byron Brenda Hulk. Well, hello.
Hello. So, common mistakes. The first thing you have, I'm going to tell you this right off the get-go. When you're filing for a disability claim with the VA, the first thing you need to do is you need to contact, we always put it in our description, the 1000 number, the 800 number. I think it's 8. I can't remember. But it's in the description to talk to a VA rep. And with that VA rep, you first want to ask them, I want to file an intent to file on a disability claim for my right shoulder. Okay. First thing you want to do when you talk to them, they're going to say, yes, let me type this up for you. And they'll ask you, do you have the forms, or do you want me to email them to you, mail them to you via snail mail, or do you want both? You want to say both. And they will send you all the correct documents that you have to fill out. Use those documents as your draft, okay? As your draft, fill them out, and then take that information, go online to va.gov, and submit your claim online. Now, you can mail it in right back to them, and they'll handle it, okay? And then when you go on there and check about your claim, you can see where it's at in the process, so on and so forth. But along with your file, your intent to file, ask them for a number to a local VSO, okay, Veteran Service Officer, and the local DAV. And they will give you the address and they will give you the phone number, okay, because sometimes the last ones that I've done, I'm just like going, man, I know what this is supposed to be. But you can talk to somebody. The VA itself cannot talk to you or give you advice in filling out the forms. Okay, it's not going to happen, and they'll tell you that right there on the phone. But you need to call the DAV or the local VSO to ask questions, okay, on filling out the form. Your second best bet is to find a veteran who's done this. Now, I'm not saying somebody that's done this 25 years ago, somebody who recently's done this. And you can find those people at your local American Legion, at your local VFW. There's somebody in there that is putting in claims and stuff like that. So those are the things you got to do. And you got to actually know what you're filing for, okay? So the CFR, you can go in there and search for the CFR, for disability CFR, on the VA website. And you can get into that and you can put a search word in there, disability, left shoulder, right shoulder, hips, knees, whatever. And it will take you to that chapter that will outline what they're looking for as far as a disability. And you have to make sure it's service connected. Also, if you don't have a copy of your medical records, you need to file for that. You can ask the VA, hey, do you have the phone number or the email or the website that so I can request my medical records? And they will give you that also. And there's tons of videos out there. You just got to go onto YouTube, go up there and search the word VA disability or VA disability claims, and a ton of videos will come up with a lot of good information. So those are the things you need to do. First, you've got to educate yourself on how you file a disability claim. And depending on what you're filing for, and you want your medical records so you can say, okay, I dislocated my shoulder 4 times when I was in the Marine Corps. Okay, it's documented in my medical records. Now my shoulder is trashed. Okay, I got tingling sensations in my arm. I got pain in the front and back because of the tendons. I probably tore my rotator cuff, yada, yada, yada. And then from that point on, you can start your disability claim. But there are 5 common mistakes that a lot, and I mean a lot of people make when filing a disability claim. Okay, so let's get started with this, bro.
Absolutely.
So mistake number one, not providing a clear nexus. Okay, a nexus is a letter that explains exactly what's wrong, how it happened, when it happened, and your current diagnosis of the situation from your doctor. Okay? So a nexus might sound like some strange, some sci-fi word, but it's critical for the VA claims. It is the medical link between your condition and service, like a road connecting two places together for the service to your health. No road, no benefit. The VA needs proof your issue stems from a service connection. And that's the key. If it's nowhere in your medical records, you're not going to get it approved. Now, it may have happened, okay? It may have happened, and you're one of those hardheads like us that didn't go on sick call when you first felt that twinge in your arm, when you ripped your rotator cuff or whatever the case is, because the rotator cuff will heal the raw tissue, but it won't put it back together. Okay? Only a doctor can do that. Okay? And you've lived with this pain for so long. Now, I had a battle buddy. Okay? And my battle buddy was there when this happened. Yeah, I was stupid and I didn't go to the doctor because I didn't want, everybody called me, sard wuss or whatever the case is. And I didn't go to the doctor and I've been living with this pain. But this guy was there. And so now this guy writes you a battle buddy letter saying, hey, we were offloading whatever, watermelons off a truck in the field. And we were on like box number 20. And all of a sudden his arm dropped and he screamed in pain and grabbed his shoulder. Okay. Or whatever the case is. So now you've got a battle buddy letter that accompanies your nexus letter. That's somebody that was there when it actually happened. Okay. They can use that and make it service connected because that's when it happened. Now, if there's more than one person, you can have your spouse. Yeah, he came home and he was in agonizing pain and he didn't want to go to the doctor because they had something coming up and he was just down in Motrins and whatever to cut the pain in his shoulder, yada, yada, yada. She can put that in there also as a supporting document to your claim. So a nexus letter, that letter comes in a document, okay? And you've got to say, okay, this is my nexus is my superhero that's going to save me because I've got all the pertinent information, support letters, medical documentation, and everything that I've written this up. Plus, I seen a doctor, okay? And man, this thing is going to... Got it.
Nailed it.
So that's what a nexus. It's clear, concise, and tailored specifically for your unique circumstance. Using medical documentations, doctor's notes, x-rays, MRIs, and any other item that can explain your condition must be used in developing a nexus letter. Crafting an accurate and compelling nexus letter that gets you the job is the cornerstone of your entire claim. Think of it like this. You wouldn't go into battle without the right gear. You would not do the same thing when you're filing a VA claim. Okay. So a nexus letter explains it all. Now, I went in for surgery for my hips. Doctor wrote up a great thing from start to finish, yada, yada, yada. I put it all in. They denied me. And they say, this is not service connected because nowhere in your medical records do we find hip problems. Okay. Now, we do have you down for degenerative disc disease, and your hips have nothing to do with your um, back. Okay. But yet, my doctor says my back was a contributing factor to my hips going bad. Okay. And my knees going bad, and so on and so forth. All right. So we're still on the fence about that, and we're going to have to go back into battle and take another stance at that. But that's where your doctors come in. Okay. That's why when you go see your doctor, first thing they're going to say, we're going to take x-rays. We're going to do an MRI. We're going to do all this stuff. And you need a copy of all that stuff. They'll give it to you on a disc at the hospital medical area, or they'll give you a paper copy, but your images will be on a disc, and those you'll have to submit also so they can review those from the doctor.
Yep. And one note with that too is the fact that with the doctor going in there, like you said, is it might take multiple attempts, right? That's why they have an appeal process to be able to go through, because the doctor may need to word it differently. What was it? A couple shows ago, we had talked about some of the secondary conditions that can be derived from a primary condition.
Yeah.
And it definitely, once you're over that 40%, right, where you can get medical cover or medical care on any condition that you have through the VA, is going in and getting that, because it just might take the right phrasing from that doctor to be able to say, okay, hey, this led to this. Like, if this wasn't here, that wouldn't have been there. You're giving them this, so guess what? Now they're gonna, and they just, it's a word game.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
But that's the truth of the matter. Really, is a lot of it is that word game. So if you have medical proof because you weren't like us and tried to be hard asses and just never go to medical, then great. That's going to make everything so much better.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes too. I was actually just talking to a guy not too long ago about that, where just your MOS alone, like what you did in the military, is enough to qualify you for certain conditions, just because of the, we talked about it already a little bit, was, the firefighter foam, or, did you drink the water at Lejeune? Those types of things can already throw into it. So, but going back to it, so mistake number 2 is not understanding the CMP exam. For those of you who don't know, I know we've talked about it a few times, but if you don't know what CMP, it stands for compensation and pension. This exam isn't just some formality, some box the VA makes you check. It's their primary way of assessing your claim. It's the VA's chance to see you, hear you, your story, and evaluate the severity of your condition. And here's the thing, guys. Too many guys walk into these exams unprepared. I know we've talked about that before too, was you go in and you're feeling great that day. And so you're like, yeah, I don't have any problems. I'm all good. I just went out of here. Like, your CMP exam isn't your normal, I'm just going to show up to the doctor, do it my normal, everything's good, and I'll go home and take more Tylenol. Like, that's where you lay it on the line. Let's see. The veterans haven't thought through their symptoms. They haven't practiced their responses, and it shows in most cases a lack of preparation. And what they're talking about practicing your responses is those things like we've talked about and throughout there, was you go into that exam in the mindset of your worst moment of that condition that's bothering you.
Right.
It can have a real impact on the outcome of your claim. I know you're thinking, I'm not an actor, so how am I supposed to practice for this exam? Just what I had told you, was you just, even if you're feeling great, you go in there giving them the symptoms of your worst day. Knowing everything about your condition is step 1. Reading over all your documentation. that you want to submit, and by talking to other veterans who have gone through these exams is a good start. Finally, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of YouTube videos on CMP exams that can give your guidance on what to expect, so use them to your advantage. VA examiners, they're just people doing the jobs, but it's your job to make sure they have all the information. They need to make sure the right decision about your claim. Don't be shy. Don't hold back. This is your time to tell your story, to connect the dots between your service and the condition. Remember, knowledge is power, and with the right tools and preparation, you can walk into the CMP exam feeling confident, prepared, and ready to own your exam. And that's 1,000% correct, right? Is going in, being prepared. I mean, that's what we've talked about. We've probably mentioned it in just about every episode or show that we do every week, because those CMPs are that's the moneymaker for it, right? That's the time, because you're not going to the VA to get a physical. Like if you do your physical at the VA, that's just a check. That I'll say 8 out of 10 times will have no effect on your VA claim whatsoever.
Right.
Unless you have a good doctor, like Mike's case, where, hey, your doctor went in and was like, wait a minute, you've had this back problem and it's not on your thing. Like, if you have one that is attentive enough to go in and actually look at your medical record beforehand and be prepared, they may catch that. But everything else is on you. And if you go in there trying to be that hard ass that you normally were while you served, and you're like, everything's fine, I just take a couple Tylenol, just get me out of here, I don't like doctors. That's not the time to do it. That's the time, I guess, to be the full wuss. Everything hurts, and you have no pain tolerance, and just giving them what your symptoms are at your most worst time.
Yeah.
And the hard part, and we've talked about this a couple times too, was they're there to prove you wrong. They want to prove that you don't have something wrong. So you having firsthand knowledge, a big thing to have for these CMPs is knowing the frequency of, I'll use myself for an example, right? I go in and my back goes out. Knowing my frequency of how many times it does it, or what triggers it, what activities, and then knowing, hey, this will help it, in moderation, or, like, it's where you really want to spill all the beans to that doctor of, well, this is how I handle it. I just don't do, which is, you avoiding it is also, part of their medical examination is like, well, they just don't do this thing. Well, okay, then now that's an avoidance. Now that's a life-altering situation that can make a major impact with a CMP exam and doing your claim overall.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had a question about burn pits. I will tell you that the PACT Act, when it was first put in there, it was designed to give compensation to those people that were subject to the burn pits in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Vietnam, if they hadn't already claimed that. But again, I put in for the PACT Act because we were left behind, and we were breathing in smoke with those little hay fever mask, if you will, the little paper things with the metal clip on it. And I was coughing up black oil at the end of each day. And of course, we were stirring the honey pots, all the waste, burning waste, me and my platoon. We were on that for 30 frickin' days while we were over there at the base camp. Also, I worked with aviation when I was at the Air Assault School. So you're breathing in JP-8 fuel. And I'm going to tell you something. And plus, I contracted tuberculosis when I was in Bosnia. And they found a half dollar size lesion on my lung. So I had to go in for a thing called INH, and I had to take that for 13 months. It's a 3-pill cocktail you take every single day for a year, but they made me do it for 13 months. And I had all that documented in there when I was over there, everything. How many times I went to the doctor and stuff like that. But yet I was denied. Okay. And the CMP exam consisted of a trailer came through McAllister. They made me an appointment through not Optima. What's that other?
QTC.
QTC. And I went in there, and the lady gave me a breathing test, and she gave it to me 3 times, and I failed it. She said, your lung capacity isn't there. And then after that, I went in there for a sit down with this doctor that I couldn't understand what she was talking about. I'm sure she was probably a doctor, but her accent was so strong, I couldn't understand what she was telling me, and she got pissed off at me. The next thing I know, they said, we're scheduling you an x-ray, but you have to go to this one specific place up in Tulsa. And so I had to drive to Tulsa to go to this little place in a building, and they x-rayed my skull. And then about 3 weeks later, I got a message saying, hey, your claim under the PACT Act is denied. There wasn't enough compelling evidence to go on to the next step. I'm like going, what the frick? And of course, I listed solvents and all kinds of stuff, when we were spray painting the cart paint on the vehicles and all that stuff. And when I talked to a nurse that actually worked for the company that QTC contracted, and she told me that her husband applied for it too. She knows his conditions, and he was denied too. And that over, I think she said something like 3 or 4 million people have applied for the PACT Act, and less than 100,000 of them were approved. And I said, what? And she goes, I'm going to tell you that our job, because she went outside with me to have a cigarette. And she goes, I'm going to tell you, our job is to prove you wrong. So she goes, just prepared that. I did write my notes up that you failed the breathing test and all that stuff. But yeah, ultimately it was denied. I put in a thing to appeal it. It was denied the second time. I said, you know what? You actually have to be sicker than a dog. Okay. And she goes, if you came in here and you had like 50% lung capacity, then they would consider it and stuff like that. So I don't have good things to say about these contractors that have these $1 billion contracts with the VA. If that's their thing, if their job isn't to get the benefits to people that deserve it, and their only job is to save the VA money or save their contract money, then something's wrong with the whole system. So that's just my thought on that. But there are tons of videos on YouTube. Just put in PACT Act. And I mean, like Jason was saying earlier, there is literally hundreds and thousands of videos on every symptom that you can think of to prepare you for a CMP exam. I mean, there's law firms that are putting this out, and they're telling you the same thing Jason said. How do you feel on your worst day? And they'll walk you through exactly what they're going to go down the checklist, and they're going to ask you the questions. And these guys on this thing that they represent veterans, and I get it. They're putting these videos out, so you'll say, "Oh man, I like that guy. I'm going to hire him because my stuff keeps getting denied." And that's their whole purpose on YouTube. Plus, making some money on the side because they have like 100,000 people or more following them intently, depending on their. And then there's some people that are ex-VSO people, and they're going to tell you everything step by step that you need to do for whatever chronic illness that you have. So YouTube is a great source to practice and to learn what they're going to do in your CMP exam. Okay, so mistake number 3, missing deadlines. Okay. Remember, if you're late, you're late. You're AWOL no matter what, right? 5 minutes or an hour, you're AWOL. Now we're driving into a mistake that can really throw a wrench into your claims process. Missing those VA deadlines because, believe me, those deadlines are serious business according to the VA. If they think that you're going to be late to a flight or you're going to be late for a flight and expect to just hop on, you're wrong. The VA operates on a similar principle. You've got to be on time. We're talking about your benefits, and those deadlines are there for a reason. Missing even one deadline can mean your claim gets put on hold, okay? VSO has a stack of claims probably covering his desk. And all of a sudden, he didn't make the CMP thing. You're going to go over here into that pile on the floor. So when he finishes everything that he has, then he'll finish the people down here, which can delay months, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, because there's people that it's taken over a year for them to finalize their approval or disapproval. So if you're not being serious about this and you're not meeting those deadlines for appointments and stuff like that, or if they call you or they email you and say, hey, we need you to go back to your primary care and we need you to go and be examined by an orthopedic surgeon, okay? And we need the results of that to boost your claim. And you don't do it, and they're going to tell you you've got 30 days to get this done, okay? You're just shooting yourself in the foot, okay? Yeah. And, I mean, that's the bottom line. So if you're not taking it serious, they're not going to take it serious. Struggling to keep up with the VA's deadlines, you're not alone. Using tech to stay organized, set reminders, write it down, because when you get 65, guys, you forget, okay? If you're a YouTube creator and you got things on your mind, plus you're trying to work and you're trying to do this and you're trying to run a farm or you're trying to do whatever you're doing, things are going to slip your mind. That's the handy thing about your cell phone. As soon as they give you something, you put the date in there and you write it down, set an alarm on that, and you make sure you make that. By starting ahead of the deadlines, you're taking control of the process, which can be just beneficial to you. It comes to when it comes to getting your benefits you deserve. Time is definitely on your side, so set those reminders, embrace the power of technology, and keep you on track. I'm telling you guys, you cannot, if you think it's going to be, whatever, oh man, I hate the VA because they didn't process my claim, blah, blah, blah. Look at the man in the mirror first. Yeah. Did you do everything they told you to do? Did you make all those deadlines? Did you make those appointments set forth for you? Or were you just lackadaisical? Whatever, I'll get to it when I get to it. It'll still be there. Yeah. Then all of a sudden your year comes and there's nothing. And then they go, okay, this guy has not responded. Shit can the case. Now you have to refile again. Okay. So uh, the ingenuity is on your side to keep busy on
Well,
that.
and the only one that's going to care the most about what you're trying to do is you. You can't expect, like, nobody in the process of any of this is making you a priority.
Yeah.
Not one of them. Not your doctor, not your VSOs. You are not their priority. They've got so many other people lined up. So
You're
unless you,
just another schmo.
yeah. So you've got to make yourself a priority and set those reminders, make sure you're hitting those deadlines, and get the information in that you need to get into them when they're asking for it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't do that, and then you're the one sitting, in the local bar or tavern or wherever, and you're the one complaining about it. And, there's been a couple times that I've been in that situation where I've heard guys, complaining about, well, I submitted it and then they never did anything, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, did you follow up? Did you call? Did you go to the appointments? And they didn't do any of that. They just submitted the thing and thought it was all going to magic and fairy dust happen. They
Yeah.
did no extra work with it. And then I'm like, okay, well, then why are you mad? You're the one that failed yourself, not the VA, not your VSO, not the liaison of whoever that you got to help you, your buddy at the VFW. You're the one that failed yourself.
Yeah.
So you've got to be on top of that. And that rides in with mistake number 4, submitting insufficient evidence. Submitting insufficient evidence can be a major roadblock in getting your VA benefits approved. The VA needs to see evidence that supports your claim. Think of it as building a solid foundation for your claim. Gather all relevant documents like your medical records, service records, and what Big Mike was talking about earlier, your buddy statements. And that can be from, especially if it's one that you never went to medical, it's guys you served with that were in that same spot. And the more you can get, the better off you're going to be. And then, of course, your spouse, like if you were married to your spouse at the time that you were in, and they can vouch for the fact that, hey, they did go. And sometimes they'll remember that, well, wait a minute, didn't you go to the civilian hospital for that? So they might help you, remember some of those things. Remember to organize and prioritize your evidence. Be strategic and present the most compelling evidence to make your claim stand out. So let's talk about the medical records. These documents hold the key to your health history and future benefits. Your medical records are the evidence that supports your claims and helps you get the benefits you deserve. They provide a detailed account of your medical history, treatments, and conditions. This continuous documentation is crucial for establishing a clear link between your service and your current health condition. The VA needs to see a clear connection between your current condition and your military service. Did you suffer an injury or have a condition like PTSD? Were you exposed to hazardous materials? These exposures need to be documented. Sometimes those records can be scattered. It can be frustrating trying to gather everything. As you search, each place might have a piece of your medical history, making it a challenge to compile a complete record. But don't worry, it's a common issue, but it can be overcome with persistence and the right tools. Start requesting records from every place you've received care. Request those records, track them down, leave no stone unturned. Medical records are crucial, but they don't capture the full story of your experience and struggles. Sometimes the most powerful evidence comes from those who know you best, like your friends, family, and fellow service members, who can offer insights that medical records can't. Buddy statements are detailed accounts that can significantly bolster your case. These first-hand accounts describe incidents, injuries, and their impact on your daily life. Did they witness your injury? Their testimony can provide a vivid picture of the event. Their words carry weight. They can talk about the changes they observed in you both physically and emotionally. Don't forget about your own personal statements. Share your journey in your own words. Describe your symptoms, how they impact your daily life, and be as detailed as possible. Authenticity is key here. The VA needs to see the whole picture, including the human impact. They need to understand how your condition affects your relationships, your work, and your daily activities. So don't be shy, let your voice be heard. Your story is powerful and it deserves to be told.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, I mean, that's exactly what we've been saying the whole time, too, is go in, be honest. This isn't the time to hold back, right? This is the time to lay it all out on the line and be like, you know what? I don't handle these situations well, or I can't do this anymore. Um, and part of those buddy statements can be your own statement. You
Yeah.
know, get on the computer, get on your phone, whatever, and just type it out. It doesn't have to be some college level essay, right? You don't need to be an English professor to just write in your own words how this condition, and if you have multiples that you're putting on there, it would behoove you to go ahead and write that same statement and then get other character statements. And your spouse, I'll tell you right now, your spouse is a major key and a help into doing these buddy statements because they live with you day in and day out.
Yeah.
And if they write an account, there's things that you don't know, right? Sleep apnea, perfect one. We're sleeping. We don't know that we're snoring like crazy, but your spouse does because she's laying inches away from you and can hear it. So yeah, they can be very effective. And one of the other big things that I pulled from a lot of this was a lot of times, even while you're in service, right? You're home on leave and you get hurt. So you go to the local hospital. They don't automatically send those to your military medical record. You need to get a hold of that hospital. And even though, okay, you were hurt, you weren't there, but is that something that could be service connected? Possibly. They need to see everything that happened. Um, and it's just imperative to have as many records. And if you don't have a physical medical record, then buddy statements. Get a hold of those guys that were there to your left and right, and remember that experience and just have them write a quick statement.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because I'm going to tell you something. In the case with the VA, more is always better.
Yeah.
And a lot of things you can't say that. Okay. More might be too much in some area, but with the VA, more is better. If you're still in touch with your battle buddies from the military and they can write a statement on your behalf that you guys were at base camp Bravo in the middle of bumfricked Egypt, and this incident happened, and when that happened, a something went off, and I just remember that Mike was always walking around complaining of a severe, massive headaches for weeks, and then when we got back, he was still having problems. And we did tell him to go to the medical facility, but he wouldn't go, and he was self-medicating the whole time just to get by, and so on and so forth. So those massive headaches from artillery round impact or whatever, and you're so bullheaded you weren't going to leave your boys, and you just suffered it out afterwards. Those are the things that they need to know about. Firsthand accounts of what actually happened, what led up to your injury or your disability. And again, if you've got PTSD and you keep going in and saying, I'm fine, everything's okay, because they're going to ask you those same questions. Have you thought about suicide lately? Blah, blah, blah. No. Everybody knows the right answer, right? Because as soon as you say no, they're in your 6 o'clock about everything, right?
Right.
And most veterans have pew-pews at the house. And if they think, hey, if I tell them that I've got something mentally wrong with me, government's going to come in and scarf up all my pew-pews or whatever. But and a lot of people do not admit to PTSD, especially when they're on active duty. Okay? Because why? They think it's going to be a career killer. Okay? Even though no matter what they tell you, you got to ask for help. It's not going to hurt your career. That fear is always there if you're a career person. Now, if you're only in there for 4 years and they said, dude, you're nuttier than a freaking fruitcake, okay? And we think you got PTSD and everything, and you have no plans of staying in, okay, that's fine with me, okay? But the fear of living with the repercussion of this goes deeper than just getting a disability check and stuff like that. But then on the same thing, is your PTSD secondary to that concussion you received when that artillery round came in? So now you've got the migraines, and you can prove that. Then you got your hearing loss that's secondary to that, or the tinnitus secondary to that. And it's just, and then all of a sudden any loud noise is setting you off, and you're in the middle of a mall and someone drops a tray of plates or whatever. And next thing you know, you're flat on the ground, getting out of the danger zone or whatever. Yeah. I mean, those are the things that people can write about and tell the VA exactly what the hell is wrong with you.
And a big thing that even when you're talking to the doctors and the staff during your CMP, and when you're and think about this when you're writing, right, your own buddy statement, or you're talking to guys, especially if you're going to talk to your spouse or significant other, and when they're writing it, the big thing that they need to push, or at least emphasize, right, is how it affects your daily life.
Yeah.
What, like this artillery round going off back then, like Mike was saying, all of a sudden somebody drops a tray in the mall food court and you're sprawled out in the the middle of the bushes, or jumping into the fountain to seek cover. Like, those are the types of incidences, especially when you're looking at like PTSD or anything. But even when it's a physical condition where you have a limitation of movement, how does that affect your day to day? Yeah. And if you think that not doing something, right, because what is the typical, not only veteran but just a male instinct was, hey, if I do that, it's gonna make me hurt. So what is our initial instinct? Avoid it.
Yeah.
Avoidance isn't the answer, right? Not all the time, but that also is considered a condition, because you're now altering your daily life and how you monitor things, because now you're just avoiding it. It doesn't get rid of the problem, but then that does become a symptom that falls in line with more of anxiety, PTSD, however you want to see it. So yeah, the daily life how it affects your daily life.
Yeah. And your quality of life. Yeah.
Or that too. Yeah, both.
So mistake number 5, filing alone. Okay. A lot of times this is a big one. Going alone is one of the most common and avoidable pitfalls in the VA disability claims process. Navigating the VA system is complex and overwhelming, but you don't have to do it alone. There are experienced professionals ready to guide you through this. Finding good VSOs is like finding a needle in a haystack, but they are out there. Contact the VA representative by calling 1-800, all right, 1-800-827-1000. Okay, that is their hotline for all things VA claims. is your first step. Inform them that you want to file or you have an intent to file. That VA rep will document your intent to file, then request VA claim documents to be mailed to you. So you can have it mailed to you, emailed to you, Pony Express, however they get it to you. You want to ask for both. I want a hard copy and I want an emailed copy. Okay, there you go right there. So don't forget that number. Write it down if you're a vet. If you're the spouse of a vet, write it down. Make them use it. Okay? Remember, the VA cannot give you advice on how or what to file, but you can ask for the phone number of a local VSO and numbers to the DAV to assist you. I know in my clinic, they are there every Tuesday and Thursday. A DAV rep is there, okay? And people will see him and they won't even talk to him. They're sitting right there in the waiting room, waiting. He's got his little laptop. I looked at him, I said, "You work for the DAV?" The first time I met the guy, named Sam. He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Really?" I said, "Can you answer a question?" He goes, "That's what I'm here for." And he must have been 80 freaking years old or whatever he was. And I said, "How do I get that discount with the state of Oklahoma for my tax?" He goes, "Well, what's your disability?" I said, "Well, right now it's 70%. He goes, "What's your social?" He goes, "All right, is this you?" And I said, "Yeah, that's me." He goes, "All right." I said, "Where are you at?" He goes, I'm linked into the VA system." Is that your information? I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Okay." He goes over here to another tab. He starts filling it out. He goes, "What's your mailing address?" Da, 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 da. Fills all this stuff. He goes, "Done." He goes, "In about 10 working days, you should get a letter in the mail. It will have a card inside there. You take that card next time you go and register is it 2 or 3 vehicles? Two vehicles, and the cost is only $5 per vehicle plus the tax. So it was like $13 to register my motorcycle and my Jeep Grand Cherokee." He goes, "That's it." Now he goes, once you get to 100, he goes, "Come see me. We'll fill out the other documentation, and then we'll get you free plates, and then we'll fill out another one to take care of your property taxes, and we'll do another one to." I go, "Holy crap." He goes, "Don't forget us. That's what we're here for." So the VA, the DAV is a great place to talk to people, okay? And if you go to a clinic or whatever, or you go to a main hospital, find out when the DAV's there so you can sit down and talk to them. Call that 1000 number, get the phone number and the address to your local DAV and for your VSOs that work in your area or in your state. They're only a phone call away. Once you make the connection, they won't be helping you approve your thing. They will give you the advice, and you got questions. They'll say, "Okay, in this block right here, you need to write whatever your symptom was. And then the next one, you put the date that it happened and yada, yada, yada." And they'll help you go through there. They won't give you the answer. They'll tell you what to, they'll interpolate the form for you so you can put the information in there in your own words. Okay. Number of the local VSO and the number to the DAV. Remember that once you contact either of these points of contact, you have opened the window for help, and they can explain how the process works and give you guidance on filling out your claim. Now, there is a third way, and that is hiring out a private non-VA company to help out, guide, and ensure your claim is processed. But that will cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Either way you wish to file, remember, it is your claim. It is your responsibility to ensure it's done right. Now, I will tell you, if you call one of these people and you say, hey, I got denied on this, I appealed it, and I still got denied, and I'm kind of worried about this because my doctor's telling me that the reason my hips are all screwed up is because of my back. Wouldn't that be secondary to my back that causes that? Because he's the professional, he's an orthopedic surgeon. He goes, your back is so screwed up, and you've already had surgery on it and all this stuff, and they tried to realign your sciatic nerve and do all this stuff in your body. Your back dictates how your hips are going to work and how your knees are affected to it. And buddy, you are tore up from the floor up because of your back. Okay. Well, if that's the case, and what they said is a reason for denial, that the hips don't fall into the degenerative joint disease process that my back is going through, then who's right and who's wrong? In this case, would it behoove me to say, hey, let me find one of these companies and sit down and talk to them, because they've probably done this before. Okay. But again, it comes at a cost. And if you want it done and you're paying for something, you want 100% result. Okay. Because it's your money. So the call is yours. I'm not going to say which way is the correct way, but the way with the VSO and the DAV costs you absolutely nothing. And just wait. Don't jump the gun until you've tried, and then you tried your appeal. Now, if your appeal comes back and they're saying, hey, we're still stuck on this DJD thing, and it doesn't make sense. They're not looking at the full picture. So just do everything you can before you start dishing out money. Now, I'm going to tell you something. There is a big difference between being 90% and being 100%, like my battle buddy. Okay. And I'm not talking about, hey, you get benefits and, property tax and all that stuff. I'm talking about $2,400 a month versus $4,100 a month for a 10% difference.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when I first, because I mean,
and I'm not saying nothing that people shouldn't already know, because the pay scale for each percentage is right there online.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Public knowledge.
That's all public knowledge. It's not like we hide it. It's not a secret squirrel type of thing, right?
Yeah.
And we actually did a show on some of the payouts and stuff like that. I didn't even know initially, because when I first retired, I was at 90, and I'm like, oh, well, another 10%. Like, I was actually more concerned and was more interested of trying to get the 100 because of all the tax benefits. I didn't think financially it was going to be that drastic of a change.
Yeah.
And no, it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Significant. I mean, it allows my wife and I to live the lifestyle that we want to live.
Yeah.
Vice one of us, if not both of us, still having to go and work. And so, a lot of people, right, are, they're driven by money, by the financial gain of it. So, if you take anything away from any of it, is go do your claim and get as much as you can, not only because you deserve it and you deserve to be treated for those medical conditions that you obtained while you were serving, but if that's what it takes, then hey, go do it just for do it for the financial gain and freedom to be able to live and not worry about where your next meal is going to come from. Exactly. Or live paycheck to paycheck. Like,
sure. I mean, now would I like to have 2 good feet, 2 good knees, 2 good hips, a back that's straighter than an arrow, and two shoulders and my hearing back? You damn right. I'll take that over any kind of money, and being 65. Yeah, but that ain't the case.
Right.
Like I've said all the time, Big Mike is tore up from the floor up, okay, from my feet to my head. And I didn't do this to myself, okay? When they said when the green light came on and they said jump, dude, I was first one out that door, okay? And when came to deployments, I'd said, man, you know what? If somebody needs somebody, I said, put my name on the list. I'll deploy with them. I was just that kind of a person.
Right.
Personally, it put a marriage at risk and not seeing my kids because my career was the most important thing to me. And now when I look back, I just go, man, what a selfish ass. But I enjoyed that stuff. I enjoyed it. I would rather be in a combat zone than be in garrison any day of the week. Garrison is freaking boring.
Yeah.
It is a freaking mind game. Well,
it's just, and I mean, the truth of the matter is, no matter what your initial reason for joining was, it could be a million different reasons of why somebody joins. Is once you're in and you start serving and you're doing all that, you just want to do what you're trained to do.
Yeah.
And and we're all trained more or less in a simpler term, right? To go on deployments. That's where we get to go execute all the training that we've spent years or decades, however long you were in before you got to do or even if you got to do a deployment.
Yeah.
Because that's when it all comes together. It's finally that time that, hey, I've been doing all this crazy training. It reminds me a lot of like the movie Karate Kid, right? He's on there doing the wax on, wax off, and he's like, I don't understand. Why do I got to keep doing this? But then when he finally gets into a competition, he realizes, hey, those are moves and techniques. And, but when you're in the moment, you're like, why? Why am I out here doing this? Why am I digging fighting holes? Why are we setting up this cami netting? Why are we going on these long convoys?
Muscle memory.
And right. So to finally get to go and execute and utilize some of that training, maybe not all of it, but at least some of it to where it justifies. And there's that aha moment. I remember having it of like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, now some of this makes sense. Like I didn't understand it at first. I was too young in the Marine Corps. And hey, you're just doing what they tell you to do, right? Because that's what you got to do. Hey, I'm a good Marine. I'm a good soldier. I'm a good sailor. I'm a good airman. I'm just doing what they tell me to do. But when you get to execute some of those, that gives you that aha moment, and justifies all the other BS that you had to put up with.
Sure.
Until you went on it. So yeah.
Absolutely. Now those veterans over in LA, they're probably thankful that they learned how to do a proper fighting position, with good positive overhead cover. So
yeah.
With all the crap that's going on over there. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. Don't make these mistakes. Your first step, like we said before, is to call that 1,000 number. Intent to file. Okay? Intent to file. Get your date started because your back pay, the reason you want to do it now, and it may take you 6 months to get everything together. But once you called them, everything gets backdated to that date. So it could be another 6 months. It could be a year. All of a sudden they said, hey, you're approved. we're giving you 40% for whatever. And then next thing you know is the VA will write you and said, hey, here's a check for your disability going all the way back to June of 2024. Okay? And you'll get all that back pay. That's the reason you want to do, if for no other reason, is for that back pay once yours gets approved. Okay? I guess, again, you may take you 3 months. It may take you 6 months to get all your documentation and everything done and your doctor's visits and all this stuff done in 6 months, but you have a starting date. And let's just say you had sleep apnea and you go, hey, they want to send me over there and do a sleep study. Let me call the VA and start this. Let me get an intent to file date right here because I know I've got sleep apnea. My wife tells me, okay, I sound like, and stuff like that when I'm sleeping and I haven't slept a wink and I can't stay awake during the day. And then all of a sudden it takes them 9 months and you get approved for sleep apnea and they give you 50% in sleep apnea. You go back and whatever 50% gets you, you get it each month and that's all your back pay. And then you'll start getting paid for that. Now the 50% might put you at 100%. Okay. So once it gets approved, you'll only get back paid the 50% at the 50% rate for that. And then your next paycheck will be at 100% if you were already at 50 or 60% or whatever, depending on the VA math and how it can screw you over. And we did it for you on that too.
Right.
So yeah.
VA math.
Yeah.
The only math that makes absolutely no sense at all.
Yeah. It's like government accounting. Good Lord. All right. Hey, look who's here.
Oh man, she's sneaking in.
There's your beautiful bride. Yeah. So anyway, guys, I'm glad you guys could come in. I know it took a little bit longer, but we want to make sure you guys understand this stuff. We want to make sure, hey, if you get stuck on anything, remember, and you didn't write it down, that 1000 number or that 1-800 number, 827-1000 is always in our description, and you can go there and grab that number. If you're looking for the VA website, it's also in the description there. If you haven't even started healthcare, what are you waiting on?
Right.
You got to do it.
Yeah.
Got to do it, man. So anyway, hey guys, we're glad you guys came in. I hope this benefited some of you all. Next week, we're going to have an open mic. Okay. And we will, if you want to come up and talk to us, we'll just be jibber jabbing until you come up and talk to us.
Right.
We'll try to answer any questions you got. We'll try to, and we will listen to your story. We will try to direct you in the right direction to get professional information. And I'm going to tell you guys, we absolutely love doing this. It helps us. It also helps Jason and I to go over these things. So when we run into other veterans out there, okay, we can sit there and have a conversation with them. Maybe they're not doing every single thing they should, and maybe they know something that we don't know, or they went through something that we haven't, and maybe we did. But it's good to talk to vets, and remember, never, ever pass up a veteran at the Walmart without shaking their hands. All right, guys, they deserve it. Just because you're a veteran, it's okay to thank another veteran for their service. So guys, remember, be kind to one another, help somebody in need, always, always think of that. Any closing words, brother?
Just appreciate all of you coming in and week out. We do this every week, guys, the same time, 8 p.m. Central, right here, Tuesday nights. And if you're new coming in or just now finding us, go back and look at the playlist or the live videos that we've done. We've got so much information that we've covered and doing this over what? I think we had figured that out, right? We're over our 1 year mark.
Yeah.
So, we've been doing this for a while, getting a lot of information out. So, but even if you still have questions, if you went back and watched those or you don't want to take the time to watch them, still come in, throw us the comments, send us emails. Those are always down in the description to Big Mike and I. You got our personal emails on there to send information, questions, comments, any of that kind of stuff. Get it out there. We want to keep reaching more and more veterans. See this channel grow just in the fact of like more people are on here. We know we're connecting with more veterans.
Yeah.
And that just makes the whole purpose and point of why we're doing this, why we created the channel, was just to reach more of you and get you to open up a little bit. That's why we keep throwing the open mics. We're not judgmental, y'all. You don't have to be big YouTube stars. You don't have to be Hollywood stars. We're veterans. That's the first and foremost thing that we do in every single day. This is a place you can come and say it how you want to say it.
Yeah.
So I encourage, get the word out for next week. We want to get more people up on this panel. We want to hear the stories. Grab somebody, even if they don't know how to work a computer. You're in here watching the comments or watching this video. You know how to work the computer. Get them over to your house. Get them pulled up. We want to hear their story.
Exactly. So, guys, we love you. God bless you. We'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.
Bye now.
Bye.
Hot Mike.
You know who I missed tonight is Angie.
You're right.
Yeah, our VA nurse wasn't in here.
Slacking on us.
I'm going to have to get a hold of her. She better have a damn fine excuse.
Oh, them naders must have took her away or something. That's the only acceptable excuse.
All right, bro.